Welcome to the third episode in the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Dota 2 series. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to control various aspects of your hero, as well as guide you through some settings which can be very helpful to have in the game. When first starting out, knowing what all of these things do is really confusing, but they can dramatically improve your performance in the game. So pay attention as I use all of my 150 IQ and 2,600 hours of game time to teach you almost everything that you need to know about controls. And who knows, maybe even those of you who consider yourselves veterans will learn something. If you want to watch all of these episodes as they come out, make sure you subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon so that YouTube sends you a notification as soon as the next video is uploaded. And if you like the video, click the like button too. If you don't do this, I will report you. Nah, I'm only joking guys, but all this stuff does help out my channel and I would really appreciate it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is open up the settings menu to start with. And if you don't know where that is, go and watch episode 2 again because I explained all of this there. Once you're in, the first screen that opens up is the hotkeys, and this is where we're going to begin. Now, these keys won't actually become hot on your keyboard, so don't worry about third degree burns. No, these are hotkeys because you want to be able to press them like they're hot. Or in other words, you want to press them fast. Now, because you want to press the keys fast, you need to be able to reach them really easily. So keep that in mind when setting your keys. The most important ones should be close and should be very easy to press. Also, most of the keys are actually set fairly well by default, so don't feel like you have to change them now, but it is worth setting up the keys that you think you will use now rather than later so that you get used to them a bit quicker. You could always change them later if you feel like they could be better, but let's go through some of the ones that you will need and I'll do my best to explain what they do too. So first of all, we'll start with your abilities. Every character in Dota 2 has hotkeys for their abilities, and they are typically set to the same keys so that they're easy to press and you don't need to remember many different keys for each character, unlike in Dota 1. Anywho, most of the time, heroes have up to 4 activatable abilities. Now, you might notice that mine aren't actually here. I actually have a slightly different setup, which is a little bit more advanced, so I don't know if you'll have these options. I don't think you will as beginners, but for now, I'll click for quick cast. Yours will probably be on cast, and that's fine, just leave them there for now, but I'll explain what they do and why they're like that. So first of all, your first 3 abilities are usually set to QWE, and your ultimate ability is set to R, as you can see, ultimate U. That being said, you can see 6 keys here, and that's because some heroes have up to 6 abilities or 6 commands depending on the hero, or if you have certain Aghanim Scepter upgrades. These extra 2 hotkeys are usually set to D and F by default. Of course, if you want, you can change these, but this is probably the most used setup because they are easily accessible. Now, as I said before, under the ability hotkeys, I actually have cast, quick cast, and auto cast, but you probably won't have those. That's because these are actually activated by an advanced setting in the options down here called Enable Advanced Quickcast Autocast Hotkeys. This just enables you to bind keys to the Quickcast and Autocast hotkeys rather than the standard cast hotkeys. Now, as beginners, your hotkeys are probably set to cast, and this is good as it allows you to press and release the hotkey, then aim the ability with your mouse and cast once you left click. This is really good for starting out as it gives you a chance to learn the range of your abilities and take your time with them, but once you start improving, I'd try to set most of them to quick cast. Now, quick cast means that the ability will be cast where your pointer is currently positioned as soon as you press and release the hotkey. Now, this is really useful once you start to improve and you start to learn each of the hero's spells, as it reduces a mouse click and that speeds up your gameplay. Now, there's actually also an option in the advanced hotkeys, quick cast on key down. This is even faster than the standard quick cast where you press the button and it will cast once you've released the key. Instead, this one casts the ability as soon as you press the button down, which is faster, but it doesn't give you a chance to reposition your cursor, so you have to be damn sure you know what you're doing. I just leave this off because honestly I think the potential for disaster greatly outweighs the probably 0.001 of a second you might save. Now, up here, you can also select Unix-specific hotkeys, which allows you to program hotkeys individually for heroes if you like. You'll notice that I have this ticked on because there are some heroes where the positioning of an ability is extremely important, and I want to make sure it goes in the right spot so I don't quick cast those ones. Now, just to the right of your ability hotkeys are your item hotkeys, and these are just as important as your ability hotkeys. Again, you have the option to cast or quick cast these, but stick with cast for now if you're a beginner. Actually, if you're a beginner, you probably don't even have this option, so you probably have it on cast anyway. So in Dota, you have 6 items in your inventory that can be used at any time, as well as a slot for teleport scrolls. And you can set these to any keys you like, as long as you can press them easily. Now, quite often, you can set these to the numbers on your keyboard, but you might want to save some of the numbers for other actions, which I'll explain shortly. Also, feel free to pause the video and copy any of my hotkeys if you like. They're probably not perfect, but they seem to work alright for me. Now, I recommend setting a hotkey for your teleport scrolls as well, because this is really useful when you're trying to escape a gank or get to another lane to help them out really quickly. As you can see, I've set mine to Alt 1, but you can have something easier if you like. Probably just a number would be good enough. Alright, so I've gone through 13 hotkeys so far, and you're probably already starting to get overwhelmed. Well, don't worry, because you can pretty much use your entire keyboard in Dota. But Defy, you told me I want all my hotkeys close and easy to press. How do I do that if I need to use the whole keyboard? Well, isn't that the trick, right? You need to focus your most pressed buttons in the easiest to press locations. That being said, if you do start running out of keys in the closest spot to your hand or your fingers, you can combine the Alt key with any other key to create a combination and use the keys closest to your fingers. Just like I've done with Alt 1 for my teleport scroll. Anyway, let's go through some of the other most common keys that you'll need to have and assign hotkeys for them. Select Hero is one that you'll probably use quite a lot. In Dota, you can click away from your hero to inspect enemies, towers, or control other units with left click, but you need to be able to reselect your hero quickly, especially when controlling other units. I think by default this is set to F1, which you can leave as F1 if you like. I prefer 1, it's just a bit closer to my hand and works better for me. Another thing to keep in mind is double pressing your select hero hotkey will auto magically center the screen on your hero as well. So if you ever get lost, you can easily find your hero by double pressing this button. This is something you'll use a lot, so make sure you remember that. Select all controlled units, I probably don't need one for that. You can if you like, but attack move / force attack you'll definitely use. This is typically set to A and is also called A clicking. And what it does is if you A click or attack move on the ground, you will run to that location and attack the first enemy that comes into range. I find this really useful when I have illusions and I want to send them up a lane. So what I will do is I'll select the illusions, I'll A-click them on the ground to a particular lane, and they'll just follow that lane all the way up until they encounter some creeps and they start attacking the creeps. You can also use this hotkey to force an attack, which means you can attack a friendly unit if it's deniable. Now, you might not know what denying is, and I'll explain it in a little more detail in another video, but essentially a unit becomes deniable when it's 50% health or lower, which means you can attack it and kill it. Denying creeps will deny your opponents a little bit of experience and all of the gold, so it's definitely worth doing. Now, hold position and stop or cancel are 2 keys that you'll use a lot. Hold position is sort of like telling your dog to sit and stay. As long as you have an obedient dog, they'll sit and stay and not do anything until you say or motion otherwise. Now, on advanced hotkeys, stop, or cancel just tells your hero to stop a particular action momentarily. This will cancel spells, teleport scrolls, and also your attack animations too. If you are in attack range of a creep and you press stop, your hero will stop the attack on the creep, however will immediately start to attack again if you don't continually press or hold the stop button. This is called auto-attacking and is bad as it's uncontrolled attacking and often causes you to miss last hits or push the lane unintentionally. This is where the hold key is useful, so make sure you have both of these set. S is usually used for stop and H is usually for hold, but you can choose whatever works for you. To enable this setting to work properly, I actually think you need to go over here to the advanced options and click toggle auto attack automatically. Now, you might not need to do this, but I think I've got some settings that are sort of conflicting with each other, and this seems to fix it. So if this doesn't work for you, I would recommend clicking this button. Also, you might want to click auto attack always, as this will make sure that your hero automatically attacks. This might actually be the conflict, but I find sometimes if I don't have this on, my hero will just stop attacking when I want it to attack, so I recommend automatically attack any enemy in range to be ticked. and toggle auto attack automatically to also be ticked. Back over to the hotkeys now. Another one I recommend you have is select Courier, which I've got here as F1. Also, if you've bought something while you're not at the base, having Courier deliver items set to something, my example here is F2, is really useful, as what it does is it tells the Courier to get your items from the base and deliver them to your hero in one button press. I find that really useful, it's a time saver. You probably also want to have a key for buying stuff, so opening the shop. Here I've got it set to B, which is pretty typical. I might actually change this because it's in such a good position for your thumb, so maybe select something a bit further away if you like. The other thing you probably want to learn are your control groups. Now these are essentially groups that you can assign to your hero, summoned units or illusions, or a combination of both, and they allow you to select that group really quickly and issue an order to them. Now I'm pretty hopeless at control groups, but they are really useful if you play heroes that have multiple units to control. To set a control group, you select the units you want in that group, and then you press Control and the group number you want to assign them to. For example, I have group 1 set to 3. So if I want to press 3 to select a group of units, I would select the units and then press Control 3 to set them to that group. You'll probably also use some of the chat commands, which I'll come back to a little bit later because I want to explain chat wheels a little bit. But as you can see, there's many hotkeys that you can have, and some of them are set by default, and you can learn all of them or you can learn some of them if you like, but I would recommend having a play and binding some of them that you think you'll use. But for now, I think that's enough for hotkeys, and what we're going to do is just jump across to the options, which I'll explain some of the most useful ones for you as a beginner. Now, auto select summoned units should be ticked on. Basically, when you summon a unit, you want to be able to issue commands to them straight away, so make sure you have that one ticked on. Double tap abilities to self-cast is really useful as well, as what that does is double tapping the hotkey for an ability or an item will actually cast it on yourself immediately. So instead of clicking the hotkey and then clicking your hero, you can just double tap the hotkey, and this will save you a little bit of time, and it's definitely worth learning. I've actually got smart double tap ticked. I don't know if you'll want to do this, but basically what it does is instead of double tapping the hotkey, it allows me to just press Alt and then the hotkey, and it will act the same as a double tap. So as a beginner, don't do this for now, but as you advance, or if you're comfortable, you can definitely turn that one on. Teleport requires hold stop is definitely a very useful one. What happens when you teleport is you channel the spell. So this means that after a short delay, you will arrive at your destination. While you're channeling, you can still be stunned, you can move, and all of these things will cancel your teleport, and you don't want that. So ticking this on basically says that you have to press hold or stop if you want to cancel your teleport. So if you teleport somewhere and you start moving too early, this will not cancel your teleport. So it's really useful. Now the setting just under that, channeled abilities required hold stop, is pretty much the same. Some abilities are channeled as well, so you don't want to cancel them accidentally, so make sure you have that one ticked on too. Here you'll see a bunch of minimap options. I like my setup as it is. It sort of just tells you a little bit more information than the standard one, which I think is this. You can also have simple colors in minimap like this, but it just really does not show you enough information. And I like the little bit of extra information that the heroes actually show. But you can customize this and play with it as you like. But interface, definitely want to select all of these items as they're really helpful in your game. So what the first one does is when you're holding Alt, it will show an arrow over your hero. And this helps you to easily identify where you are in the game. You can get lost pretty easily in Dota, especially in team fight environments or when there's lots of creeps around. So pressing Alt will basically show you an arrow over your hero so you can locate them really easily. Now every minute, neutral creeps in the jungle will spawn as long as nothing is in their spawn boxes. Now this second Alt option shows the neutral creep spawn boxes, so you can avoid or purposely block them at the minute mark if you like. The next option down, the third Alt option, basically just shows you that tower attack range, and it's really useful if you want to avoid taking tower damage or from being revealed if you're an invisible hero. Now the last option here is, well, you got another option here, but this option will basically show an indicator on the range of the abilities that you are casting, and it's really useful when you're first starting out, and actually it's useful when you're like a veteran as well, as it just shows you if you're in range to cast your ability or not. Now, there's other options here as well which you can go through if you like, as well as more on the advanced tab, which I'm probably not going to go through. Feel free to have a play if you like, but definitely they're less of a priority than the ones we've just gone through, and can probably be left alone for now. Now, I can imagine that I've probably overwhelmed some of you a little bit, but hopefully that's not the case. If I have, then have a nap and come back later, because playing Dota will probably cause your head to explode, and I really don't want that on my conscience. Cool, so let's jump into a game now, and I'll go through some of the hero controls that you'll need to be able to control your hero. Alright, so first of all, you want to be able to select your hero. Now, by default, your hero will already be selected, but say I click over here on this creep or this tower and I want to select my hero again. Well, that's pretty easy. We set a hotkey for it earlier. In my example, it was 1, so if I press the 1 key, I will select my hero again. You can also left click on your hero, or you can click and drag over your hero, and that will reselect your hero. Now, if you want to move, you right click on the ground. So if I right click here, I will move to there. I can right click back and I will move back. Now, say I move over here, and now I want to move the camera over here. There's a few ways you can do it. Actually, my hero is attacking. Now, there's a few ways you can do it. First of all, the easiest way is to just move your cursor to the edge of the screen and move it until your hero is in the perspective that you want. You'll find in Dota that you'll want to move the mouse and the camera a lot, so get used to doing this. You can actually change the speed at which this happens, so feel free to change your camera settings if you like. There's other ways to do this as well. You can actually click and drag your click drag key. If you go to your hotkeys, camera grip it's called. In my case, it's the middle mouse. And you can click and drag your middle mouse on the ground and your camera will drag. I actually use this quite a lot, as I find it a little bit easier than clicking on the edge of the screen sometimes. But it's up to you. I actually use a combination of both. Now, we've moved over here and we want to attack this creep. But I left clicked it and nothing happened. So left clicking is actually used for targeting an ability or a command. So just left clicking on it will select the creep and not actually attack it. What you want to do is right click. So your right click will send an attack order, and you can use this to attack creeps and enemies. You can also A click, which I mentioned earlier. So if you press the A key and then click on the enemy, you'll start to attack. Now, you can actually use your A click to deny your own creeps when they get low enough. So press your A click or your attack command and then attack the creep when it's below 50% health. You'll know that you've denied a creep successfully when the question mark or the exclamation mark is above the creep. Also note that you'll continually attack the creep or the enemy until you issue another command. So here, an example is pressing H will hold my hero, and this will stop me from attacking until I click again and I can attack. Now, sending messages to your teammates is also very important in Dota, and knowing how to do this without typing it is an absolute must. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a ping, which you can do by holding Alt and then clicking on the map. You can also hold Alt and click on the minimap. A ping is really useful to alert your teammates to something that you want them to look at. What it does is it plays a sound and shows an alert on the minimap as well as the map itself that all your teammates can see. Now, as I said, this was done by Alt clicking, but Alt clicking can actually be really useful for a lot of other things. You can Alt click your abilities to let your teammates know that they are ready or on cooldown. You can also Alt click unlearned abilities to let your teammates know that you haven't learnt them yet and that you need a certain amount of experience until you level up and you can learn them. You can Alt click the enemy portraits at the top of the screen to let your teammates know that they're missing. You can actually Alt and Control click to let them know that they're returned as well. You can even Alt click your health and mana bars to let your teammates know how much you have. You can even do the same for enemies. Now, pretty much every multiplayer game has a way you can communicate with your teammates. In Dota, you can press your hotkey to chat just to your team and type a message out to them. You'll also have a hotkey to talk to everyone in the game. There's an in-game voice chat if you want to use it. I've set this to mouse 4 because it's really easy to click. But what I did want to mention was your chat wheels. Now, you can customize your chat wheels by clicking on this button here, and you actually have 2 chat wheels that you can use. Feel free to play around with your chat wheels and set whatever you like here. Now, to use your chat wheels in game, simply press and hold your chat wheel hotkey, move your mouse to the corner for the phrase you wish to say, and then release the hotkey. This sends this message to your team, or all chat if available, and is very good to quickly get a message to your teammates without having to type it out and stop what you are doing in the game. I find that a mixture of useful chats and chats for the lols is a good balance, as it can really keep the game a bit more fun while still also having some useful ones for the team. I think we've covered most of the basics now. There are certainly some more advanced things that can be done, but you'll learn these over time, and I'm sure I will create another video if I haven't already that will go over some of these things. Alright, that should be enough to get you all started on the hero controls and thinking about how to make efficient use of the keys on your keyboard. If this video has helped you out, make sure you click the like button and share it with your friends if they need it as well. Also, if you want to watch the rest of the Ultimate Beginner Guide series, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you're notified as soon as they're out. That's all for today. Time for me to play some Dota.